guys, so today we're gonna talk about listening in the IELTS exam. So we have already talked about different sections of IELTS, and listening is actually the first section of the written exam. IELTS has 4 sections. So the first section actually is easier than the last one. So the exam is kind of progressive. We start with an easy task and finish with a difficult task. So every section has a different type of conversation, maybe a monologue. The first section has a very simple task about 2 people talking, maybe filling in a form or a blank, something like that. And mainly it's easier than the other sections. In the second section, you can encounter a person describing a graph, maybe a map, so you need to complete the sections that are missing. In the third section, it's a conversation about an academic task or something like that. And the last section is mainly a monologue. Monologue about maybe a scientific discovery, maybe geography, any topic. So the duration of the listening section is 40 minutes. But the 30 minutes are taken or are dedicated to listening to the conversations and completing the tasks in the booklet, and then you have 10 minutes to transfer your answers onto the answer sheet. So today we're going to talk about the main tips and strategies that you can use when doing this exam or when preparing for this exam. So the first thing you need to do is that you need to practice with real material. There are a lot of materials online. You can take many IELTS papers and you can prepare yourself. Remember to do the exam in one session. So you start with the easiest task and you continue progressively until the last task. Remember that the recording is played only once. So try to practice filling in all the blanks in the time limit you have in the real exam. The second recommendation I'd like to give you is that you need to practice transferring your answers from the booklet onto the answer sheet. Why? Because you have only 10 minutes and that is not enough. Sometimes you start thinking, reconsidering some questions, so try to do it as quickly and correctly as possible and try to recheck the answers, because sometimes we're stressed and maybe we make mistakes when copying the questions or copying the options. The third tip I'd like to give you is don't try to change your answers. Sometimes some students think that, well, I heard this question and I'm not sure, was this answer or maybe that answer? And you start thinking, reconsidering, remembering the conversation in your mind, and then when you transfer your answers, you start changing them. I do not recommend you to do this because sometimes the first impression is the correct one and sometimes you are really confused. Yes, maybe you are stressed and you make this mistake. Try to copy or write what you wrote. No? Most of the times it's the correct option. Another thing I'd like to do is to get familiar with the band score. So imagine that you need to get 7 in each band, and you need to know what skills, what vocabulary is required. There are a lot of resources online where you can read the vocabulary for IELTS, grammar for IELTS. So try to check those sections and see what you need to do, right? What you need to prepare, what skills you need to have to do this section correctly or successfully. Another thing you could do is to, well, in case you don't know or you haven't heard what was the correct answer, try to choose any option you think is correct. Why? Because every time we score a point, we will get one point for every correct answer. But if you don't know the answer, you can anyway guess one option. Anyways, if it's not correct, you're not gonna get any -1, or there's not gonna be a penalty for that answer. Another thing you should do is to write clearly. Sometimes students think that if you write your word or the sentence when it's difficult to read, it's going to help you, but it's not going to help you, because if the interviewer or the examiner can't understand, he will not score, he will not add this point to your score, he will just ignore this answer. So try to write clearly in capital letters or in lowercase letters, but it must be clear and easy to read. Another tip for you today is that you need to read the instructions carefully. If the instruction says not more than 3 words, no more than 4 words, no more than 2 words, be careful and make sure you write not more than that. Remember that article is also counted as a word. A preposition is also a word. So try to be careful and remember that if you write more than 3 words, you're going to be penalized, or this answer is not going to be counted. One of the biggest issues on IELTS exam, well, in general in the listening section, one of the biggest problem in this section could be spelling. Of course, if you don't have any problems in spelling, that's great. But always there are some words that you don't know, and you're not sure how to write them. So I recommend you to also practice spelling, because even if you write the correct word but it's misspelled, it's not going to be considered as the correct answer. So try to practice, for example, with the materials we have online, the conversations, instead of just completing filling the blanks, try to write as a dictation and compare your answer with the script. Another thing you can do is that if you missed one answer, continue with the next task. What happens is that the exam is ongoing, so in case you are looking for this specific section and you are hearing that it's already in the second paragraph and you haven't heard anything about this question, in that case it means you missed it and it's not going to be repeated. So you need to continue working, you need to continue listening to the next section. What happens is that sometimes students focus too much on one question and they miss the others, and it's really bad because you lose points. The last tip I'd like to give you is to be careful with numbers and prepositions. When you count the number of words in your answer, it's one thing, but sometimes you write the correct answer but you use the incorrect preposition or article. If you're not sure, if you have this problem, try to review the topic of articles and prepositions. I know it sounds crazy, but many times there are many incorrect answers only because of prepositions. Because sometimes students write, he went to school, or for example, they need to write, they went to school, and they write, they went to the school. And maybe it's this context, it's not correct. So please be careful, check the grammar again, review the topics that are required, and try to practice more. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope this video was useful for you. If you want to know more about IELTS, look at the description below, and there you will find some links to other videos from this series. If you have a question about IELTS, you can always ask me in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!